Sports Mag, our tennis team is up and running.
Yeah, they are. And now, oh, is that rugby? Ouch.
That is. And up we got girls soccer, and those, oh, look at that nice kick.
And those pink jerseys, what's all that about, Ron?
It's going to be interesting. All this and more this week on CU Sports Mag. So quiet.
Hello and welcome to CU Sports Mag. I'm Kylie Burr, sitting alongside Ron Knabenbauer, and we've got a great show for you, so let's get started.
That's right. Now, normally we don't start off the show that's not sports affiliated with CU. However, there was a monumental upset in college football last night, and it did not take place in Boulder. The #1 USC Trojans fell at the hands of the unranked Oregon State Beavers 27-21. This upset helps pave the way for the remaining unbeaten teams in the Big 12, like Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas Tech, and your very own Colorado Buffaloes. The door also opened the door for the big boys of the BCS to take control and, have a chance for the BCS title game. Now moving to CU sports, on Thursday, September 25th, women's basketball head coach Kathy McConnell-Miller announced that junior guard Whitney Houston will miss the 2008-2009 season due to injury. During practice on Wednesday, she tore her ACL in her left knee and will undergo surgery in the next 2 weeks. Houston averaged 6.1 points and 1.8 assists in the 59 games she played as a Buffalo. Although she will be sorely missed this season, it is not the end for a rock star basketball player. After redshirting this season, she will be eligible for 2 more years. If there is one thing the Sports Mag team has to say to Whitney Houston, is that we will always love her.
The CU women's soccer team added another win to their record this past Friday against Gonzaga. Despite a very strong defensive effort by the Bulldogs, the Buffs managed to win the game 1-0. Each team held the others to a scoreless first half. With 20 minutes left, Kate Russell found forward Nikki Marshall on a breakaway down the field where she set up the game-winning shot. This was Marshall's 13th career-winning goal and gives the women's soccer team an overall record of 6-1-1.
On Sunday, the CU women's soccer team wrapped up the Colorado Classic against the Fresno State Bulldogs. The Buffaloes tested FSU early and often, and finally broke through in the 36th minute after forward Gianna De Silverio beat Bulldogs keeper Caitlin Ravel. However, Fresno State would equalize 7 minutes later when forward Ali Seal beat CU keeper Kirsten Radlinski with a perfect header. CU came out firing on all cylinders in the second half, taking the lead for good in the 53rd minute off a Nikki Keller goal. Colorado added insult to the Bulldogs' injuries with 2 minutes left to play after Alex Cousins' header found nothing but net, making the final score 4-1. The 18th ranked soccer team has now won 7 straight games and kicks off the Big 12 conference play against Oklahoma this Friday at 4 o'clock at Prentice Field. And now we have our very own Adam McPherson here to talk about the Colorado Classic, and the team was wearing pink jerseys for Kick for the Cure. Is that correct?
That is correct. If you guys saw in the video, they were out of their normal element on the white jerseys. But yeah, the tournament was more than just a tournament this past weekend. The Buffs started a new thing. For the first time, they had a Kick for the Cure, which was started by CU's head coach, and it was basically a chance to raise awareness for breast cancer. And I was able to talk to a bunch of the players, and it sounds like most of the players on the team has had a family member or knows of a family member that has been battling with breast cancer. So it was really great. I mean, we've seen the team give back, with things like Buff Hugs, going to children's hospitals and things like that. But this was great. They were able to get bring out a lot of fans, a lot of pink wear, just to raise a little bit more awareness.
Yeah, back to those pink jerseys. What was that all about?
Well, this was actually kind of the center for their fundraising. At the end of the tournament, at the end of the victory on Sunday, the jerseys actually went up for auction, and that was kind of the profit, or hopefully raising the money for the research and things of that nature. So it was really cool. They got fans were able to bid on jerseys that their players wore and raise a little money for breast cancer awareness at the same time.
How much did they actually raise?
Well, the minimum bid online was $100, and from what I've heard and what I've been talking to players, it actually sounds like a lot of those jerseys went for more than that.
Wow.
Their goal was about $25,000, and again, from what I've heard from the players, it sounds like they reached that goal, if not very, very close to it. So it was a great weekend for them. It got a lot of fans out, as you guys could see, and just continuing to raise awareness for something that I think a lot of us can relate to.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, guys.
Former CU linebacker Jordan Dizon pleaded guilty last Thursday to driving while impaired in a Boulder District Court. According to BuffZone.com, Dizon was arrested in Boulder on April 20th and ticketed for suspicion of driving under the influence, driving the wrong way on a one-way street, and failing to provide proof of insurance. According to a police report, Dizon's blood alcohol level was .097. As part of a plea deal, Dizon was sentenced to 24 hours of community service and $895 in fines and court costs. Dizon was drafted by the Detroit Lions just 6 days after his arrest and is not expected to miss any games. Well, we're really looking forward. We got off to a great start, and we have the trivia question coming up after the break.
Yes, we also have Heather and Luke in the double team set. They're going to break down the Florida State game for us.
Sounds great. Stay tuned.
All kids have trouble staying within the lines. After the 3rd grade, it could be a sign of a learning disability. With the right help, most kids go on to do well in school. Call now to help your child manage his learning disability. There's no reason to be held back.
What if you had to choose between a flower and an elephant? What would you choose? What if you had to decide between a 100-year-old tree and a 1,000,000-year-old beach? Could you choose between drinking clean water or breathing clean air? Now you can choose all these things. EarthShare, the world's leading environmental groups working together. It's one choice we can all live with.
In America, you are not required to offer food to the hungry or shelter to the homeless. There is no ordinance forcing you to visit the lonely. In fact, nowhere in the Constitution does it say you have to provide anything for anybody. Thank you for all you've given. Imagine what more could do.
Welcome back. We're going to go ahead and jump right in and take a look at Dan Hawkins' weekly press conference, which happened this Tuesday.
Roll that video. Well, I guess we have some technical difficulties right now, but there we go.
They have to learn that they can play with people, and even though, teams are extremely talented and well coached, that doesn't mean that you can't be in the same arena and have an opportunity to win a football game.
I'm proud of the way we're playing on defense and especially on offense. We got a lot of young guys on offense, but they're playing their tails off right now.
We know we got to go down there and play our game regardless of who they have on defense. And whether Florida State is starting their 5th-year veteran who's a first stringer or a freshman who happens to be 4th string, they can play.
All right, now Heather and Luke are on the double team set to talk about football.
Yep, they're going to talk a little bit about the Florida State game coming up. Take it away.
All right, so we have some technical difficulties going on, but we're going to move on to Man on the Street right now. We got our very own, what's his name, Matthew Seawick hit the field and to talk to players about what they thought about Florida State for the first official away game this year.
The football team has their first out-of-state away game this weekend against Florida State. I'm out on campus asking students what the team will have to do to clinch the win and what factors will go into it.
It's definitely going to be a big test. Florida State's a great ACC school. We haven't had a really away game yet since we played Colorado State and Denver. It's kind of mutual, so we still haven't had that challenge yet, but we're coming off a big win from West Virginia. I think we'll do very, very well.
Florida State is probably, they had a really bad game against Wake, so it's going to be, they might come back with a vengeance, but West Virginia had a vengeance. They had just lost the week before, and we did all right against them. West Virginia's they have a more dynamic offense than Florida State is, and Florida State is kind of iffy about their quarterback situation, so it just doesn't allow for good dynamic if you don't even know what quarterback you're going to be using for the game.
Maybe our defense could hold up a little stronger and Cody could complete some more passes.
I think we'll do well as long as we put up points. Florida State doesn't have too good of an offense, but they got a strong D.
Good team's a good team. I play lacrosse for CU, so it doesn't matter where we are. We always like to win.
Darryl Scott is good. He hasn't really lived up to his hype yet, so he needs to still get into his own. But Hawkins played great against West Virginia. If he pulls off a great game against Florida State, I think no doubt in my mind we'll take the game.
Last week, CU played West Virginia in the annual Blackout game. In it, newcomer Rodney Stewart spun, jumped, and leapt his way into the record books for most rushing yards in a single game by a freshman. That brings us to this week's trivia question. Whose record did Rodney Stewart break? Don't rack your brains too hard. We'll be back with the answer later in the show.
Well, I know that I'm really excited for that, Ron. I've been thinking about it for a while now.
Rodney Stewart, that guy has really become a really good gamer for the Buffs this year.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm excited to see what he has in store for us. We want to apologize for the technical difficulties. We're working on everything right now.
But yeah, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some little women's golf and rugby. Stay tuned.
Can you pass the salt, Dad?
Salt is to pepper as gregarious is to...
Oh, no, not more SAT questions.
In ancient Rome, salt was a form of currency. True or false?
False.
True.
Son, can you locate sodium?
Or chloride?
There are tons of ways to help with your kids' learning. Find the really good ones on connectforkids.org.
You have 3.5 grams of salt and a 5-gram slug. What's the rate of shrivel?
In America, you are not required to offer food to the hungry or shelter to the homeless. There is no ordinance forcing you to visit the lonely. In fact, nowhere in the Constitution does it say you have to provide anything for anybody. Thank you for all you've given.
Welcome back to CU Sports Mag. We're going to go ahead and get started and talk a little bit more about Rodney Stewart, which we mentioned earlier. Rodney Stewart rushed for a freshman record of 166 yards in the Buffs' victory over West Virginia. Even though it was last week, we feel that this was such a great effort that we named him CU Sports Mag's Athlete of the Week. Well, it looks like we're having a few...
Oh my God, the fans was crazy. It was unbelievable. It was the best feeling in the world. And I'm glad I'm experiencing that as a freshman. I had to stay focused, keep my mind right. I know it was a big game and all, but I couldn't go in there and blow plays. I had to make the right blocks, things like that. And I just wanted to win. I'm Rodney Stewart, CU Sports Mag Athlete of the Week.
This past weekend, the University of Colorado tennis team hosted a 3-day invitational against 5 other teams, including state rivals Northern Colorado and the Air Force Academy. Senior Monica Maluski went undefeated, winning all 5 doubles in 4 single matches. Maluski and junior teammate Camilla Balassi were able to make it to the final doubles round and beat fellow Buffs Melissa Esposito and Francisca Jandrayan 8-6 to claim the doubles title. Coming up next for the tennis team is the Intercollegiate Tennis Association All-American Championship qualifier in Los Angeles.
All right, I think Heather and Luke are ready in the double team set to talk a little football.
Sounds good. Let's toss it over to them.
Hello and welcome to Double Team. I'm Heather Morvis sitting alongside Luke Rosenmayer, and we're here to talk a little bit about Florida State University.
Right. We played FSU last year, coming off a road loss against Arizona State, and we just didn't come into the game with the momentum we needed. However, we did manage to dominate the time of possession and the play count, but in the only stat that matters, we just didn't put any points up on the board.
No, we didn't. And when you go scoreless for over 56 minutes, I mean, you got to put some points on the board. And the Buffs were just not doing that last year. It was pretty disappointing. We lost 16-6, and it was a 2007 blackout home game. So there was a lot of hype going in. We thought we were going to play better than we did, but unfortunately, we just couldn't put the W up.
Definitely. What killed us in this game was the mistakes. We had 2 missed field goals. We had wild shotgun snaps that cost us 31 yards. Hawkins threw 2 interceptions. And our total rushing yards for the game, -27. When you throw all those mistakes together, it just becomes impossible to beat any team coached by Bobby Bowden.
Absolutely. When you're going for 60 yards and losses in the second half alone, it seems like you can't pull it together. So really, it seems like our mistakes, compiling all those together, we really lost this game for ourselves. FSU didn't necessarily win.
Definitely. There were some positives in the game, though. Our defense managed to hold the Seminoles to just 1 for 13 on third down conversions, and giving up 16 points to an ACC powerhouse, only 1 touchdown, that's nothing to be ashamed of.
No, that definitely isn't, but it's just going to make this year's game even more interesting, and we'll be back to talk about that after we come back from the commercials break.
Hi, and welcome back to Double Team. Now we're going to talk a little bit about this year's Florida State game.
That's right. FSU, they're 2-1 so far this year. They look pretty good. However, their competition isn't really what it should be.
Right. They've played West Carolina and Tennessee Chattanooga. They've blown them both out, but when you consider the competition, it's not really anything impressive. And then when they play Wake Forest, an ACC team, they lay an egg. They commit 7 turnovers and only score 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like when they're more evenly matched playing a team such as Wake Forest, they're not performing as well. They can put up 69 points against West Carolina, but they can only put up 3 against Wake Forest. So it's really interesting.
Definitely. What we don't know what we're going to get from Florida State this week is the defense. It's kind of a mystery. They've only given up 19 points through 3 games, but this is against 2 1AA teams and ACC bottom feeder Wake Forest.
Yeah, but however, like you said, it's going to be a mystery because they're returning 4 defensive starters this week from a suspension.
Right. And they also have cornerback Tony Carter. He's their most experienced player on defense. He's only missed 2 starts since his freshman year, and he managed to pick off Cody Hawkins twice last year.
Yeah, huge playmaker in last year's game, so definitely someone to watch out for this week's game. However, let's talk a little bit about FSU's offense.
Right. Offensively, Florida State, besides against the 1AA teams they played, haven't produced much of anything, really. They use the 2-quarterback system, alternating quarterbacks every other play, but it's really not working out for them too well right now. I mean, 5 interceptions between 2 quarterbacks against Wake Forest, it's not something to be proud of.
No, but anyway, let's switch gears, talk a little bit about what we have to do as a team to get the victory this week.
All right, it's very important that we establish the running game early to avoid becoming one-dimensional like we did last year. That'll just hand the Seminoles the game. On that note, it's important that Darryl Scott starts to step it up a little bit. I mean, he's supposed to be the best freshman running back in the country coming out of high school. And so far, he's getting shown up by relative unknown Rodney Stewart, who's getting more than twice as many yards per game as him.
That's right. I mean, we can look at our last game against West Virginia. Rodney Stewart broke the rushing record for freshmen. So he's playing very well, really impressive performances of late. So it's going to be interesting to see how Darryl Scott's going to respond to that, see what's going to happen in this week's game.
Definitely. Also, what we need to look out for is we just had a starting lineman hurt. Maxwell Tuioti Mariner tore his ACL in practice this week. And so it's probably important that Cody Hawkins is going to have to scramble a little bit, make some smart plays outside the pocket.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have this week. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Heather and Luke. I'm glad that we finally figured that out.
Indeed. But now let's switch gears from football to golf. The CU women's golf team placed 6th place at the University of New Mexico Invitational in Albuquerque on Saturday. The team shot a tournament best 296 in the final round, led by freshman Emily Childs. Childs' second round score of 69 was the lowest for CU in the tournament. New Mexico finished first with a team score of 872. The Buffs did shoot one stroke better than rival Colorado State. CU is now ranked 10th in the nation for the first time in their history. The Buffs return to action at the CU Heather Farr Memorial Tournament in Broomfield starting on Monday.
The University of Colorado volleyball team fell to number 18 Kansas State Saturday night. Amber Sutherland led the Buffs with 10 kills and 8 digs, making it the third time this season she has recorded 10 or more kills. The loss put CU at 7-4 overall and 1-1 in the Big 12. The Buffs return home to host Texas A&M this Saturday.
Rugby is one of the toughest sports on the planet, and though the game is only a club sport at CU, the team is one of the best in the nation, with them going to the Final Four and beating number 1 BYU last season. Constance Ray of the CU Independent explores this sport and previews the squad's upcoming season.
I'm here today at the University of Colorado football practice field, but that's not the CU football team. And this isn't a football. This is rugby. So what exactly is rugby? Isn't it sort of like football?
It's kind of like football, except we don't have any pads or anything, and they do. And it doesn't stop like soccer unless there's like penalty or it goes out of bounds. So I guess it's not really fair to compare it to football because it's not the same.
Okay, so maybe not. All-American Tommy Pasque had this to say.
I would say that rugby is a sport that requires a lot of fitness and conditioning in order to be a part of it, and it's also very physical, but in the same sense it requires finesse, and I think also big respect for the players who play, because I think that it's a very hard sport.
What about your coaches?
Our coaching staff, I think, is 4 of the most different guys you can get, but all bring something to the table. Coach Kelly's great with fitness and with conditioning and recovery, and Jim and John are both great with technical skills, and Coach Edris is a great leader. So, I mean, they all bring phenomenal things to the table.
Head coach Sean Edris was named Coach of the Year by American Rugby News last spring.
I was surprised.
Surprised? Tell me about it. I'm pretty surprised this is only a club sport. This team is really good.
I mean, we're a very successful program. We've been in the top 10, rated in the top 10, I'd say 5 out of the last 7 years, and last year we were number 4 in the country.
Wow.
So this is a very, very good program. A lot of these kids come to the University of Colorado in order to play rugby here.
Wait, so with all that success, where are all the fans? Right, you guys also beat BYU last year, right?
We did,
And that was kind of a highlight?
That was, yeah. We, it was. We had a huge game. It was one of our best games we had all year.
Where was that?
That was here
Here?
on campus, yeah.
Cool. Did a lot of students come?
Not as many as we liked, but yeah. a few
Okay,
came.
so you'd like more people to come to the games?
Of course, yeah.
You can look around here. This is the kind of turnout we get for a normal game for us, which is nobody.
Although underacknowledged, this team shows great promise and one day might just play on that big field. Constance Ray, CU Independent.
Hopefully we'll get some more fans out to those rugby games. They definitely look like a lot of fun. Coming up after the break, we're going to have the very much anticipated trivia question.
That's right. And also, cross country competed in Iowa State. We're going to see how they did. That and more coming up next.
Immediate openings available for the most important jobs in America, helping the organizations that help children. Whatever you can do, in whatever time you have, you can make a difference. To learn how you can help in your community, reach us at this web address and number. We're fighting for the children. Whose side are you on?
Change. It's coming faster. Only those with high-tech skills will excel.
Power, beer 1 wine, holding short of 1 6.
I'm getting those skills now in the Air Force. It's given me powerful tools, education, training, and experience. With Air Force skills, I can keep up with tomorrow's changes, and so can you.
Here's my nephew Scruff, about to run into trouble again.
Hey, Bobo, where's your video game? In here. Well, look at this. Uh-oh. It's my dad's. You want to hold it? What'll I do?
If you get my new comic activity book, More Adventures with Scruff, you'll find out what you can do about bullies and guns. And you'll see lots of games.
Cool.
For your free copy of my new comic activity book, just write Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652, and help take a bite out of crime.
I want it. I want it.
Welcome back. Last Saturday, CU's cross-country team ran all the way to Ames, Iowa, where they took second place at the Iowa State Invitational. Senior Chris Panoin bolted across the finish line of the 8K in 25 minutes and 58 seconds, just 31 seconds behind Clayton Carper of ISU, who took first place. The 7 Buff runners all finished within 8 seconds of each other, 4 of which under 26 minutes. CU's women's team was led by junior Ainsley Ryan, who took 9th place in the 6K with a time of 22 minutes and 22 seconds. The Buffs have this weekend off to prepare for the Rocky Mountain Shootout they are hosting on October 4th.
The CU West Virginia football game brought thousands of visitors, an ESPN television crews, and a dazzling finish to Folsom Field. But there were also 65 students kicked out of the stadium. SportsMag's Kelly Sommariva took a look inside CU's new campaign to improve fan conduct.
Ejecting fans is just a part of the game for Coach Hawkins.
People might say, wow, that's a lot, but that's a lot more enforcement that's gone on in the past.
The crackdown on poor student conduct is a part of the Big 12's Compete with Class program, which began in 2003. Since then, the HERD, CU Student Alumni Association, has revamped the name and the message.
In the past, it was just a message of compete with class, almost like your parents telling you don't do this. Now we're trying to say, hey, we want you to be excited, we want you to be loud, but at the same time, we want you to be wary of what you're doing.
And there's one not so big reason why CU is working so hard to improve this.
There's so many little buffs around, little kids, families, really trying to discourage them from cursing.
To compete against a buffalo like Ralphie here would definitely be a challenge, but to compete like a buffalo is something every student can do, which is why Coach Hawkins took the program under his wing when he came here 3 years ago.
What Coach Hawkins is doing with the team is kind of what we're trying to model, this campaign around.
I know when I addressed the students when I first came here, I just said, guys, everything you do is a reflection on your degree, on your reputation, on our reputation, on all the alums. You need to understand that.
The reflection is beginning to look better as the football season continues, but the impact will resonate long after the fans have finished rushing Folsom Field.
People are going to have a perception about what is the University of Colorado, and when they come into your office and you're a professional and they see that degree hanging up there on the wall, what's that going to mean to them?
The HERD is hoping that will mean a university that knows what it means to compete like a buffalo, but most of all, with class.
Hey guys, you know what to do. Well, now it's time to reveal the trivia answer.
About time.
And the question again, whose record did Rodney Stewart break? And that was Lamont Warren. Back in 1991, he ran 118 yards.
Dang, those guys can run real fast.
They are. Well, that's all we have for CU Sports Mag today. Have a great weekend.